How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. I want to thank you guys for coming through on this nice Sunday night. I'm in Stony Brook, Virginia, exit 33, I-95, on my way to Trenton, New Jersey. Okay, I am glad, ever so glad that I waited to do this actual live stream. Because there's a lot of things that are going on here that a lot of people do not understand. They have no idea about, but we're going to discuss it tonight. Make sure you hit the like button upon coming in. And that's why I want to go to a politics only channel, because this space is gone. You got one BGS trying his hardest to talk about the gender war over real issues, which is what his job was in the first beginning to come here, is to talk about the gender war over real issues, to get a bunch of dumb idiots into not focusing on fixing themselves, but expecting a perfect woman to show up first so that way they can fix their issues after that's over with. But I don't think that's the way that needs to go. So without further ado, let me give a shout out to people who came up here. What's going on? The Unknown One, Prisoner of Hope, John Joseph Majors, Rocco 07, Capers, AO, That Toxic Gianda, Ronan Hassan, LOM, Nerone, Emperor Sports Channel, Cedric Webb, BA. All right. This is not a positive person, and we're not going to talk positive things about a person who's not positive. I don't think you dying off the planet is a good reason to say good things about you, especially when you never said or done good things for people. Now, Charlie Kirk was selling the same type of conservatism to younger adults that the father and the grandfather could clearly not sell to their kids. I'm going to repeat that. The type of conservatism that Charlie Kirk is selling was the same type of conservatism that the father and grandfather of this guy could not even be bothered with trying to sell their children. Now, their version of capitalism only works when they're benefiting. They don't see a point of capitalism if they're not benefiting at all. Actually, they don't see a point of anything if they never benefit at all. But see, their version of capitalism kind of mixes well with Christianity. As this guy said, Charlie Kirk, the one who died, clearly have said that he doesn't believe in empathy. And that's the whole problem with conservatism in whole, is conservatives don't have empathy for anyone outside of their thought process. Conservatives think and believe in a tiered justice system. That's how they govern, in a tiered justice system type of way. This isn't me talking. This is his history talking. After the Civil War was over with, what did they do? Roll into Jim Crow and ran the same game that they running during the slavery times. What did they do after that? They came up with black codes and all these other things that pretty much gave the same ideal of America. Had the South won the Civil War, where were these people going to work? Like, this type of self-sabotage within their race is in the DNA of the culture that they're in. Oh, we got a guest here, Mike V in the Gone. What's going on, both of y'all?
Hey, what's up, MOT? What's up, Mike?
Hey, not much, man.
So, Mike, what is your opinion on all of these people within the black manosphere of all places doing all these RIP Charlie Kirk streams?
Well, what it demonstrates is that there is no commitment to the advancement of black men in their issues, and the centering of white males in their grievance. And so the manosphere has basically become an outpost for the grievance of white males in America, and not necessarily the interests of black men.
Wow. You go. What do you think about these black guys in the Black Manosphere doing all these RIP streams for Charlie Kirk?
I think many of them are. It's pretty sad. A lot of these people are showing exactly how they feel about themselves, how they actually feel about their own community. Charlie Kirk said some very bad things about the black community, black people, lazy and all this kind of stuff, and just making all kind of claims that don't even match up with who you really are. But yet, these people are quick to accept it because they want to call themselves conservatives. But these guys are not really conservatives. Also, they tend to be more self-haters and people who really value themselves less. So they're not looking out for black men. They're not looking out for anyone in the black community or anything else like that. They're trying to get whatever little crumbs they can for themselves and really despise themselves to a large level. These guys know that, and they've called these other black conservatives or so-called black conservatives out on that as well from those white people. They've called them out that way. So I see people who are lionizing this guy, who are black folks, are some self-hating kind of sad Negroes, and you know they got to go.
No, I mean, but they came to the Black Manosphere because if things progressed too far, then they wouldn't have a place in society. So the
Well,
natural idea of sabotaging things is so natural to them because they're not interested in progress.
they came here to destroy. When you look at, they came here to destroy this. As you see it, they've come here to destroy this and turn this into something freakish and ill and based on pure shine bonery. These are shine bones. These are people who are not going to help you if you really had real needs to be helped in this community. They're not going to be helpful. They're not going to be helpful at all. They're here to stop progress, get in the way. They're not here to help you to grow and advance. That's not their job. That's not why they're here. They need to go.
Renaissance man, well, what's your opinion on these black men, black male conservatives calling themselves doing all these RIP streams for Charlie Kirk?
I don't. It's really surprising, just because this guy was clearly not someone who was advocating for these people. But I think some of these men have been radicalized too, so I can't say it's too surprising. I saw a post earlier today where they were like, some black Christians have been looking bad and all this, and some black conservatives have been looking really bad and all this. So it's kind of showing where people are.
All right. So I'm going to name some names, and these people think the same type of things. Pat Buchanan, 1980s. Pat Buchanan. Rick Santorum. David Duke. Richard Spencer. And a younger guy, Nick Fuentes. They all think and believe the same thing. But none of those people were funded by corporate America like Charlie Kirk was. Charlie Kirk was the only one who received funding because he had the look, he had the background, and he knew to stay to all white areas in very small towns in order to push his message and to go to these schools in predominantly white areas because he was trying to go after a very, very specific group of people. And he did not have a view of everyone. Mike?
Yeah, no lies told there. I'm still puzzled as to what were they thinking, as if there was a difference between Fuentes and Kirk. If I remember correctly, there was a specific content creator in the Manosphere who thought that Nick Fuentes and Just Pearl would go in front of Congress and advocate for the issues of black men and boys. if not be a surrogate in a abolitionist, for the 19-point agenda. We don't see any of that happening today in 2025. So
Absolute schizoid, schizophrenia, frightening. Anyway, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
no, that's my take on it, to answer your question, MOT.
Yeah, to go.
Yeah. Yeah. MMOT. I mean, it's almost hard for me to kind of, put it in words because I don't want to sound a certain type of way, but those people who, you previously mentioned, in these black people who think that they've matched up with them are caught up in some type of I don't know, what's it called, Stockholm syndrome or something like that. I don't know what else you can call it, but I leave this akin to a mental and a spiritual illness. I look at it as an illness. And I understand how people can be beaten into, or they may feel like they were beaten into a certain mindset. I guess you can do that with certain people, but this is an illness you're dealing with, and we dealt with it on the plantations, and as we've gotten off the physical plantation, that still is a part of what exists in our community as well. And these people actually, they embody that, and it's a cancer to a large extent for us, and needs to be removed.
Or Renaissance man.
Yeah, no. No, my thoughts about the situation is I can't say I'm surprised. I didn't follow Charlie Kirk much. I knew who he was, like, vaguely. Just vaguely, like I said, knew who he was. So when I heard about it, and I really had to go back and kind of watch all the stuff he said, to be frank with you. And from seeing all that, I was just kind of like, I can't really say I'm surprised that something like that happens. Just because, when you put that kind of extreme rhetoric out there, it just attracts a lot of very unstable type of people. And those people can turn on you when they feel like you're not representing them, or you're not doing what they want, which kind of looks like this is what happened here. I mean, I know some people are trying to say, hey, he was, they're trying to turn this into like a transgender issue or the leftist ideology. But I think when the dust settles, this is clearly going to show that, hey, this was someone who looks like they were part of the Groyper community, who didn't like Charlie Kirk, and, basically said, hey, we're going to go and get rid of this guy, which, if you look at Nick Fuentes recently in some of his streams, he's been trying to walk back people who he felt may have been violent in his camp. So I think that's pretty telltale as well.
Yeah, he's
really
pretty
too
scared.
late. I mean, it's really too late for all that, and he probably see himself as a person who's probably next in this type of circumstance.
Yes, very much so. He's scared. I've been reading some of his stuff. He's nervous. Oh, let's talk peace and let's talk this on. He's walking it back, and there's an awful lot of money behind a lot of this, and to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. No. There's no way he can walk it back, because it's out there. The problem is that I was speaking with some other brothers earlier, and the problem is that with this whole movement, you can talk about the Groyper, you can talk all of this stuff. What they've actually unleashed and helped to release is something they can't fully control. They can't control this. So people will act out the way that they see fit if they don't feel right about what's going on. This kid who they've picked up, he comes out of a very fundamentalist community. Not even the LDS, but the FLDS, which is even more goes to the more of the original heart of, let's say, the Mormons. The regular Mormons, the LDS, they've kind of conformed to to a lot of the laws that we have here. These guys are still going on their old laws from Joseph Smith back in, in the 19th century when these guys started this whole thing. So they're very hardcore. So this kid who got caught up into that, he's even a bit more extreme than where let's say somebody like Kirk and them were. So you're going to find that out because the Groyper, some of the stuff was written on the bullets, and they had a lot of things that came out about this. You're not hearing a lot about it, saying he's not cooperating, because I don't think they want to release a lot of what this kid has to really say. So I think this is a problem. This is a big problem, and I don't believe it's going to get any better with them.
Yeah. So literally at this point, it's okay for them to foment hatred against other people. What's not okay is that they face consequences for their actions. It was always okay for them to, when Paul Pelosi got hit in the head, it was okay for the president's two sons to make fun of that online, on social media. Nobody asked those people to resign from their position because they had those type of opinions. When Sarah Palin was putting crosshairs on different districts and Gabby Giffords got shot, nobody asked her to tone down the rhetoric either. Just got away with it. Nobody cared. Earlier, later last month, you had two Democratic legislators get killed. Nobody lowered the flag to half staff. Nobody was talking about people being less hyperbolic with their rhetoric. Nobody was calling for any of that. But we're going to lower flags to half staff in the federal government and all over the country for this guy. Your thoughts, Nego?
You asked me, MLD?
Yes. Yes, your thoughts.
Yeah. My thoughts, absolute insanity. But, they're trying to push an agenda. So this is what they're really trying to push, and they're really even going to try to push it harder, because what has come out of that was not the narrative that they were trying to push. They were supposed to get a different type of person coming out of this incident, and that's not what happened. But they're really now trying to push this as hard as they can. One of the strange things that we saw, even the person that tried to shoot President Trump was from that, that type of community as well, a far right winger,
Yes.
Republican, and a deeply Republican family.
Bethel, PA.
Who tried to peel his wig back. So, and then they've conveniently made that very quiet. You don't even hear about that anymore. Really, you don't hear about that. And with this, that's growing. That might be a big rift between both of these conservative sects, if you will, from the Fuentes to, let's say, the Kirk, the Kirk sect, who they consider Kirk to be a little bit too lenient, not as how would I say, conservative enough, or as extreme enough. You have people kind of growing out of this, and Trump, I don't think know what to make of it, but he has to push this narrative of the left being so bad and coming after him, so he can, put forth more of what he's looking to do with his agenda. This is they have to push this, and they have to push this even harder now. So that's what you see going on. I mean, it's really crazy, but Kirk serves a purpose at this stage. He serves a very strong purpose at this stage for their agenda, for what they're trying to push, and that's really what we're seeing. Lionizing a radical who sowed a lot of division in this country. Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I think that to Nagon's point, he sold a lot of radicalist ideas. It's important to understand where Kirk was also coming from historically. He was not a Lincoln sort of Republican. He was definitely a Johnson sort of Democrat of the time. And speaking of Andrew Johnson of 1860 of the 1860s, and so the way Kirk was looking at this was that he didn't believe in civil rights and equal rights. He believed in hierarchies, and his ideal around hierarchy revolved around, that white people should basically be running Western society, if not the rest of the planet. And so, in context of the U.S., he did not believe in those sort of ideals that black people, specifically black men, had any sort of rights that he was bound to respect. In fact, when he was speaking of black pilots flying planes, commercial airlines, he questioned the legitimacy of those pilots based on the color of their skin. So I find it interesting that so many black men in the black manosphere would want to get behind a Charlie Kirk when he didn't have their best interests at heart, nor did he care about a 19-point agenda.
Yeah. A Renaissance man. Half staff for a person who never even believed in equal rights for everybody. I mean, we just turned this whole thing into a complete perversion of what this stuff is supposed to be about.
Yeah. It was. It's kind of wild because I don't know if people remember, but 9/11 was this past week. And really, this has been overshadowed really for the past 2-3 days in the media cycle. We'll see how long it really lasts. I think part of it was just the fact that this is kind of like, people saw, JFK get assassinated, but you saw this like really happen on social media in the sense of like within really moments of it happening on social media. And honestly, X was more like ahead of what was going on than a lot of news reporting. So that's just kind of the world we live in right now. But yeah, I think like Mike said, he was someone who really what he has done is he has brought a lot of the ideas that were out of the mainstream of the right into the mainstream, like the Great Replacement theory, things along that. And it's really been appealed towards, Gen Z men, younger people on the internet that really you could say that they kind of outflanked the Young Turks. The Young Turks kind of got the head start on being on the internet and on brand and recruiting young people. And this is where, granted, Charlie Kirk was picked. He got a lot of money from the Mercers. Several other billionaires put money behind him to really be sort of at least look like a grassroots type of figure to build Turning Point USA. So, it looked like he was making some headway, but I don't think he was as big as people like to make it, because they were even saying at this event, there are 3,000 people there roughly out of a university that's roughly about 40,000 students, and a lot of people there to challenge him. So I don't know how effective he was truly being on these campuses.
Yeah. What we're going to do is going to come to some of these videos that we're going to share here and get a reaction from them. So let's go with this Black pastor response first. And if you want to know why people are leaving these religious institutions, this is a pretty good reason why. Hold on, that's the wrong one. Hold on, let me go back to this one. Thanks for the super chat, Silver Webb. The irony was he was just shot getting ready to slander black people. He asked about mass shootings and he pivoted to gang violence. Yep. And next week, we're going to go over several of these black conservative responses, and you're going to see an actual troop in the trend going through the same thing. Thanks for the actual super chat. Kirk died chasing political money. Yes. But when you can't deliver on the things that you're actually talking about politically, if people start to catch on, that's where the problem is, because most of the actual media run the same way that Charlie Kirk is doing, ignoring minority issues, bringing these unqualified people on to actually talk about things. It's just crazy. So let's get this Black Pastor response here. Share screen. Oh. All right, volume's up.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed.
Again, everybody ain't going, man. Just because these people buy a lot of advertising in the media, everybody ain't going. Everybody see what's going on here. Thoughts, Renaissance man.
Yeah, he laid it out how that's probably one of the best responses that I've heard. Like looking through people, because a lot of people have been kind of tiptoeing and being like, well, people don't need to, resort to violence. All sides need to tone down their rhetoric. I think you made it pretty plain that, you can't just sit up here and say because someone died tragically that, you kind of get to romanticize what they did with their time on this earth. So,
Mike, thoughts about what we just heard?
No, I think the video sums it up pretty good, and Renaissance Man summed it up as well.
I think he said in this pastoral way, you reap what you sow out here. You reap what you sow. So he sowed some very bad seeds, and he got a bad result. And if you get a bad result, people should say, listen, this is what happens. This is what happens to you. And you shouldn't be lionized because of it. So you kind of reap what you sow. It's a tough sermon. It's tough to deal with, but there's awful lot of truth in what he had to say. So that's how I took that.
But this should have been a universal response from the religious community. It shouldn't have just been one person. This should have been a universal response. Everybody's seen what this dude was doing. And just because he was funded by billionaires doesn't stop what he actually stood for in real life. So let's go to the polar opposite of what this guy was actually saying. Let's go to somebody who does the same thing that he was doing. This is one Nick Fuentes. fair use, fair use. I do not support this person, but let's see what he has to say.
This is a very delicate situation. This is a very delicate situation. I fear that this has set off a chain reaction. I pray to God there is no further violence. I pray to God that nobody else is hurt as a result of this. I hope that it stops here. It should stop here. To all of my followers, if you take up arms, I disavow you, I disown you in the strongest possible terms. That is not what we are about. And the same goes obviously for the other side. And I want to make that very clear. It would be a profound moral, political mistake for anybody to take the bait and to engage in any kind of reprisal, retaliation, revenge. Remember, we are the good side. And what makes us good is that we have Christ. What makes Christianity and Christ so different from the other religions is that our religion is based on the bearing of suffering for the sake of even those that persecute us. An overflowing of love, an overflowing of self-giving love, so much of it cannot be contained. An unconditional, absolute standard of love for all of God's children, even those that are misguided, even those that persecute us, even the most heinous among us. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us good. You think you're good? You're not. You are not good. I am not good. You are a man. I am a man. You are a sinner. I am a sinner. We cannot save ourselves. We cannot save this world. God can save us. God can save the world. And God saves us and God saves the world by drawing all of us up onto the cross with him. And we join not just in his glory, but in his suffering. Real suffering, not imaginary, not a nice story, real suffering, real death, real destruction, real misery. We bear a cross like Christ bears a cross, like his disciples, like the martyrs, like the saints bear a cross. And you better get comfortable up there. Drink up. And you bear that cross, not for your kin, not for yourself, not for your children, which are an extension of yourself. You bear that cross and that suffering. You drink from that chalice for your enemies.
What's going on here? What did I just listen to? I mean, is that like Earth 2? Like Nick Fuentes? Like where he's good? Like
Fear.
what?
Fear.
Dude hands was straight trembling, bro.
Fear.
Straight.
You see the fear.
If they ever do a real investigation, and this is how come you don't need a politicized Justice Department. If the actual administration was so quick to make this dude a martyr, do you really trust these people to do a proper investigation of how Charlie Kirk got killed?
Fear. Pure fear coming off of him. And this is Beelzebub talking. Beelzebub. The devil. This who this guy is. And his issue with Charlie Kirk was Charlie wasn't extreme enough. Charlie was not. He was
going soft, man.
He was hadn't gone far enough. He was, basically selling out the movement and everything else like this. Very, 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 very strong opposition that was coming from him, literally right up damn near till the day he died, till the day Kirk died. So That's what you're really looking at. And Kirk now knows. I mean, excuse me. Fuentes now knows he's in the crosshairs as well. And you've got some pretty big players in the middle of this right now, where you've got some very big players in the middle of this, and he knows what's at stake. He thoroughly understands it, and he is scared, and rightfully so. When you release what these guys have helped to release, you can't control it. They can't control this animal. They can't control this animal. They can't control it. They let it loose. They can't.
That's
control
exactly what he was doing wrong now, son. Yeah. No, he was on some 12 got that work time, man. Mike responds to Nick Fuentes and his foolishness and his walking of back.
No, I mean, he's doing exactly that. He's backpedaling, doesn't want to be implicated, doesn't want any sort of association with it. But at least he's smart enough to do that. Whereas, the Black manosphere has doubled down and tripled down and dug its heels in, its stilettos, its red bottoms into the dirt to back up, a white nationalist without any sort of interest of Black male issues. Again, I've never heard of Kirk or Fuentes advocating for a 19-point agenda.
Never.
Like I said, man, that's yesterday's grift, man. It's yesterday's grift. Like the whole plan was to stop progress. And once progress was eventually stopped, they just went off and did whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But let's Renaissance man, thoughts on the actual Nick Fuentes clip.
Yeah, I think it just kind of shows that he's concerned about how he could be implicated in all this, because it was well known that him and Turning Point USA had been going back and forth. I think he had been encouraging people in his camp to show up and basically try to
disrupt their actual
even harass TPUSA. So I think he's concerned, coupled with some of the online activity, kind of suggesting that this guy could be a groyper. So I think he's definitely backpedaling to cover himself.
Yeah, remember he was talking about confronting Turning Point USA on the college campuses as well. Disrupt a lot of these disrupt some of these outings he was having with them. So very interesting.
But overall, here's the thing. They can't walk it back because it's what they've been doing. The mainstream media have been doing the same thing. Every time they call people hardworking American citizens, they're not talking about you and me. They're talking about those people that they're getting to vote against their best interests, own best interests. Nick Fuentes is trying to get people to vote against their own best interests. Charlie Kirk was paid to get the youth to vote against their own best interests. That's what they were doing. And that's been the media's job, is to exclude people who are affected by things and give these people this rosy opinion. They allow these people, they scare the hell out of these people with this hyperbolic rhetoric about crime. They buy a whole bunch of guns, and then they fill them a whole bunch of rhetoric in order for them to do other things. There's literally no need and reason to believe that any of these people are going to change, because this is how they operate. They've been operating like this forever. They never stopped the way they operated. They only feign control, feign actual responsibility, and then they go right back to doing what they're supposed to do. These peace-loving American citizens wanted to start a civil war once this was over with. That's what these peace-loving Christians wanted to do after they heard this news. Irrespective of the fact it was one of their own that shot this guy, and he should not be dead. He should be alive, continuing to be wrong about everything. And most of these people who wave these Chinese-made flags, they don't know anything about the country and never cared about it. They use Christianity the same way they use capitalism. It's only a convenient excuse to point their finger in other people's faces that they're the chosen one because of the actions of previous generations, not for the things that they actually currently work for. Inquisitive Prince, thank you for the $5 super chat. Meanwhile, the House passes the right provision in the defense policy bill, costing taxpayers unnecessary billions of dollars. Yes. Yeah, but we need to get back to this Epstein thing and not releasing those files. We need to get back to, harassing these minorities in all of these states while not taking not a single corporate person to jail for employing these personnel. But they want to criminalize the actual act of people being here after they canceled their actual legal status. Unbelievable. So let's go to some of these comments for this esteemed guy that people in the black manosphere of all places wanted to actually do here. I wonder if AB Media or Charles Faulkner listened to these clips before they actually did their RIP streams. Let's go over some of this.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous. There was less break-ins. Why is that? And the data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad. It was evil. But what happened?
A certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah, DEI stands for one of the biggest. Didn't earn it, just so we're clear.
Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s. The disappearance of the black father has been the #1 driver of black poverty in this country. At least agree that black dads not being around is a bad thing.
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing. Starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs. Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders. They commit more arsons. They commit more kidnappings. That's not a war on drugs. That's a culture problem. Why are so many blacks committing murders outside of their population? So we've spent $20 trillion on uplifting black communities. $20 trillion, and black Americans are poor. Food stamps, subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion spent on the Great Society, and yet black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous.
Part of
what does equity mean?
Is
you mean taking
allowed
from other people?
Sorry, if I see a black pilot.
I wonder if they saw that. I wonder if they saw that before they made their comments.
Yeah, all of that was just like the wild thing was this dude was not even a good debater.
No, he can't debate.
Like I mean, the dude was trying to bring up the Great Society, and it was just like, yo, the Great Society was not just for black people. Like Medicare, like what are you doing? Then these people always go to typical black on black crime, and I'm like, why are you talking about quote unquote black on black crime like to an audience of non-black people? Like it doesn't even make sense if you want to have this discussion about quote unquote crime in the black community. And then these people never talk about the mayors and cities that are actually, lowering the crime rates, with evidence-based policy. So this guy wasn't even really a good debater. He just tried to say inflammatory things. And really, someone said it earlier today. They're like, he really had a pre-described script of where he wanted to take things and issues and then go down a rabbit hole and get you distracted versus like, and you were going up to random college kids. Like, notice this guy wasn't actually debating, professors, sociologists, things like that. Just, 18-year-old kids who might be semi-interested in politics.
His figures were off as well. His numbers were wrong. The things he was even saying were not even very accurate.
20 trillion. They spent 20 trillion trying to correct the black community.
And just talking about the number of deaths and murders and all that. We're 46 million or so people here in this country. White folks of his ilk are about 230 million. Who do you think is doing most of the killings and murders? I mean, when you start to look at the numerically, it actually becomes kind of insane. So it's, but yet I don't want to so much get off on that. I just want to say, what are these black people who were listening to this? Why didn't they say anything? A lot of these people believe that themselves. A lot of these Negroes who have no knowledge of what they truly look like believe that. They believe that themselves. They believe it, want to buy into it. I looked at David Carroll for years, jump into manosphere and just spew this stuff. Well, he wasn't a manosphere. He was outside of it, but he would spew this and say, no hope for the Negro and all this craziness, and just talk madness all day long and not have and not really be down on those facts. Nobody really challenging him hard. When you did, he of course wanted you. He'd block you. But that's essentially what we're looking at. These black people here, they don't know much, and they agree with him. They think that they are the worst. They believe that of themselves. That's why I say you got a lot of self-hatred here, because these people constantly, push this crap into your head that you have no way, and you don't have the knowledge or information to really counter that. You buy into it, and a lot of us unfortunately buy into that. Not once did they talk about redlining or any of the institutional issues that black people run into that bring you more into poverty than anything else. That he didn't bring up. He didn't even cover, of course. But he's talking to these young kids, and that's about it. He's not going up against anyone who really has very strong background and can really systematically break down and
that's
totally
always
debunk
the
his
case.
game.
That's always the case. They always get to get this stuff off in front of random people, but we already have doctors and social scientists never get any credit for the work that they do, but this person gets this large ass platform to say these type of crazy things. No one thinks that the government has spent $20 trillion trying to correct black people's issues. How could that possibly come out of your mouth? 20 trillion? How did they spend those 20 trillion?
It's actually ridiculous.
Mississippi and the South look the way that it does. You sure the government spent 20 trillion? I don't think so. Mike.
No, I mean, he's doing nothing more than being a younger doppelganger of the president himself. The president, has been known to make these sort of wild inflammatory remarks, and no one ever seems to correct him and fact check him. And that seems to be the case for Charlie Kirk as well. And so I find it interesting, after you played that clip, that, any self-respecting black man in this space can get behind a person like this with rest in peace streams pouring out a little liquor, to pay their respects to somebody like this. Now think about what he said about black pilots and the $20 trillion being spent on the black community and things not getting better, right? Taking them at face value. What would his response be to somebody like a Dr. Tommy Curry in The Man Not? It seems like in the manosphere, instead of the man not, it's the coon not. So we have what we have is a crisis in the manosphere in regards to white nationalism, and their response is to capitulate and get down with the get down in a way that kind of contradicts the whole purpose of a black manosphere to begin with. What's the purpose of having a black manosphere if all the issues that black men face are put to the wayside, for the self-serving interests of a white nationalist?
That's exactly correct. It's crazy.
Because they think that somebody is going to do all this work on their behalf, and they're just going to run in and take all the credit. And that's not going to happen. They're not going to correct your woman for you.
Yeah, doppelganger Gnostic. I guess that's their whole entire perspective. To be,
oh my gosh,
to essentially, capitulate to these sort of people. Last year, 2023, it was Nick Fuentes. This year, it's Charlie Kirk. Who's next? If you go back to 2019, 2018, it was Jared Taylor. I don't know how you solve that issue when it comes to the black manosphere in reference to white nationalists like Kirk. It's very interesting because is this the Ice Cube effect?
Yeah.
Of being assassinated on the campus and having, black men play, shadow pallbearers to the casket being pushed off of the runway off of Air Force Two. I don't know. This is the same this same Charlie Kirk who thought that George Floyd died on his own volition and not necessarily because a knee was on his neck. And that he also advocated last year for Derek Chauvin to be pardoned.
To be pardoned, yeah. And remember, we had black people in the manosphere who were saying that were aping the same things. See, I remember, what shook me before. This is when I had gone in with Jared Taylor. At the time we were over at Obsidians. And when I went in on Jared Taylor, because we saw this white dude. It's like he coming in here thinking we're inferior or something. Let me, let me give him the business. Let me tear him out the frame. After all that was done, I saw black people coming through saying that they were angry, they were mad. It's like they wanted to protect Jared Taylor, and then these other so-called heavy-duty black manospherians had nothing to say. And I'm looking at, you have the far right coming into the manosphere, and you guys want to sit here and kiss their tail. And, I saw that then, and now you're looking at where these guys are coming from. You see what they have to really say about it. These are the same people. They haven't changed. Go ahead. Yeah.
Your actual thing's going in and out. Your actual mic or maybe your connection is. But let me address something in the chat.
I'm sorry,
real quick. Okay. All right. Here's the thing. Out for the first one. Charlie Kirk was anti-LGBT. The shooter motive was due to him being anti-LGBT, not anti-black. Facts. That's incorrect. Just because a shell casing has on it, if you read this, you are gay. That doesn't mean that's the motive for the shooting. We don't know what the motive for the shooting is yet because the guy haven't spoke yet. One of those quotes had to do with the current game that I'm playing, Helldivers 2, which is a pretty excellent game, with like summoning an orbital airstrike onto the battlefield. That's what the up, left, right thing was about.
Yeah,
right?
and the quote about like read this, that's like a troll comment as well.
It is.
Like that's the whole thing is like there's a video I found, I have to see, it was about 8 minutes long, where they explain like Gorper ideology, but a lot of it is memes and trolling because a lot of this started on streamers, on
4chan.
like video games. Yeah, 4chan as well.
All right. But the problem is that we don't know what the motive is, because if we knew what the motive is, there would be no need for this stream. The guy hasn't talked to the police yet. That is one word on one shell casing. You can't just extrapolate that it's anti-LGBT because of that. That guy was anti a lot of things, but guess what? He was not pro. He was not pro white progress. He was pro corporate America spending that money that they saving, not paying for them whites actual health care and all these things in their neighborhood. His partner was transgender. What the fuck does that have to do with somebody assassinating somebody that their partner was transgender? What does that mean? God, dude, like, bro, you going way too far with this. Oh, but he transgender.
No. Here's the other thing. That is kind of hazy because the report, so that was first reported by the New York Post and the Daily Mail, which are both right-wing outlets. Because the original post was, hey, he was living at home with his parents. So some people were saying, hey, this roommate thing doesn't make sense. So we'll have to see, because I have seen like mixed sort of stories about that. And I think sort of this is Trump and them trying to spin this into some of that, because it's and oh, that was the other thing. Someone was telling me too, even if that is the case, he was like, that still fits with Gorper ideology because a lot of these men are closeted.
Yeah, but he was living home. When they got him, his father and them they turned him in. They sat down. He was at home. They turned him in, and he was at home. He was at home. So,
and you want to know why these people are at home? Because they can't afford to move out on their own.
That's correct.
Do stuff.
Yeah. Other thing too, MOT is people have been pointing out that he went to college. I was like, he went to college for one semester. probably took the rhetoric that everyone said go to trade school, because this dude had apparently like a 4.0 GPA and like a 34 ACT score. So I'm pretty sure he got some money, if not a full ride to go to school there. But he dropped out, and he had actually been in trade school for the past 3 years. So, people are talking about, people are getting radicalized in these colleges. And I'm just kind of like, he wasn't even there only a semester. How are you going to get radicalized in a semester at college?
And in what class would he be getting radicalized in?
I don't know. I guess, what pre-cal, calculus, trigonometry.
He was at a tech school. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're really trying to spin it because they look very bad. They look very bad here. And their narrative is busted. So, they got to try to find a way to spin this a different way.
I mean, keep in mind that, the school is in a Mormon conservative state.
Yeah, area. Too.
The whole state is conservative for the most part. But the idea that, he was radicalized on a campus in a conservative state, it doesn't speak to the idea it's the left. Keep in mind that when people use the left, they use the term very loosely. The left can be a myriad of things, how about anti-slavery? That's the left. Anti-white supremacy? That's the left. Pro universal healthcare? That's the left. According to some people in the manosphere, that's the hallmark of the left is universal healthcare. But yet they vote for people and candidates on the ballot that go against their own interests, and then come back in here and have rest in peace streams for people who don't have the interests of Black men. I just find this all very interesting. So,
Mike. When they say the left, especially when it starts to come out of like higher level officials, I think it's really boiling down to really anybody who doesn't agree with them, like they paint as the left, because there's a lot of infighting in the Democratic Party between the left and liberals. And none of that's recognized. It's like, hey, if they're not a Republican, and really if they're not a like right-wing alt-right Republican or a Trump MAGA Republican, like they're the left now.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is considered to be the left too. But remember when Biden, in 2020, said in one of the interviews that, or not in the interview, on the campaign trail, that they defeated the socialists, meaning Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders is, Biden is considered to be on the left. Bernie Sanders is considered to be on the left, even though Biden doesn't consider himself to be on the left. But see, that's what I'm saying, that the term is misappropriated for a lot of different uses and whatnot. So it doesn't even have any real meaning in their context.
Well, you have the right trying to define you. You have the right trying to define you, trying to define who you are, but yet, you're not defining them. So it's their way of trying to define you. And, the problem that, the Dems have had, or, they've never really properly defined the right, as to what they are, because there are quite a few sections that are there. And we're seeing some of that right now, where you have your center, your middle, and you have your extremists. And, these are very dangerous people as well. So,
well, McCain, to that point, McCain was on the right. He was a conservative. Yeah. And he defended Obama when that woman in the crowd called him a Muslim. So, he's like, no, he's actually a very nice man. And so you see how nuanced these terms really are. And I think in the manosphere, there hasn't really been a clear definition to it, primarily because people just don't read, just don't read history at all. I predicted this and I predicted that. They don't actually read anything, they just make up stuff as they go along. And so these terms are very nebulous and don't really have any material value in the context of conversation.
And they're unwilling to learn. That's the other part of it. I mean, the information's out there if they want it. They just deliberately don't want to learn it. And according to that clip, this is how you address when people say incredibly dangerous and crazy things about your opponent and not based on policy. This is how it's appropriately handled.
We're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency, and I'll tell you why. I'm concerned about someone that cohorts with domestic terrorists such as heirs.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as president of the United States. Now, now look, I
got to ask you a question. I do not believe in, I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No.
No, ma'am. He's a
Give me that mic back.
he's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you.
Yep. Yo, notice how he got booed originally too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
this was the
that's
beginning.
Yeah.
This was the beginning of the end of the Republican Party.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then when he picked Sarah Palin, and she brought a lot of that. She brought a lot of that excess in there as well. And people like who's it? Like Schmidt and the other one who's on MSNBC. They were the ones who were grooming her as well. So they helped to bring in that as well.
Yeah, man. He was like, no, waved his head and all like, hey man, sit your motherfucking ass down. Like, bro, you up here embarrassing me. Sit your ass down. What's going on?
But that's the same base that came out in 2016 for Trump.
Yes, they did.
Sure is. It's the Tea Party. The
Right.
Tea Party is MAGA. That people don't seem to really understand that. But what you're seeing now, and I think what I was really trying to say before was, you're seeing that there's a big schism that's moving. And Mike, you had mentioned it earlier. About the whole QAnon and 4chan and all that, and you've got that aspect in there. And then you have your white nationalists, and then you have your so-called conservatives, and you've got all this fracturing in there right now, but you see where these guys are coming from. Some people are getting killed. The murders that are happening with this. So this is what we're seeing.
But that's what happens when you have people who come down golden escalators, and rile that crowd up. And then, I'm pretty sure some of those people were young enough to become a little bit older to storm the Capitol. But see, that political violence isn't being, there's no pushback against that political violence. That political violence is justified, even with a gallows and a noose hanging that was typically used for political violence against Black men. That noose and that gallows on the Capitol grounds was waiting for the vice president. And people don't realize that all of this political violence really came about with the emergence of Obama, but not necessarily Obama himself, but the idea of Obama, right? And so you go back to 2015 with Dylann Roof, going into that church in South Carolina and executing all these parishioners in there. And then you go to 2017 and you see, what happened in Charlottesville, and you have the president come out and say, find people on both sides, and then he says, stand back and stand by. So this had political violence had been percolating with the emergence of the Tea Party and the ascending to power under Trump. But they're making it seem as if political violence started with Charlie Kirk being assassinated. This doesn't, it's a convenient reset of time. Then we saw in 2022 the Buffalo massacre with the same sort of rhetoric. And actually, let me share my screen. I don't have the ability to share screen.
Send it over to
Hold on a second. I'm on my computer. You should. Once you share it, it will show it as a different screen if you're on the computer.
Okay.
But I can just add to the stream.
Oh, here we go, right here. Okay. Here we go, right here. This is from the Independent. Okay. Buffalo mass shooting, former Trump official says Republican rhetoric is directly fueling domestic terrorism. Let's get into this. Let me zoom into this so that people can see on the big screen. Okay. A former official in Donald Trump's administration is sounding the alarm about the danger of far-right rhetoric in the wake of the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. Miles Taylor, a former deputy chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, wrote on Twitter early on Sunday morning that the words of quote-unquote leaders of the GOP, including presumably Donald Trump, was responsible for directly inspiring violence like that attack. Like the attack an 18-year-old is accused of carrying out in Buffalo, in a Buffalo supermarket on Saturday that left 10 dead and others injured. Quote, I spent a decade working in counterterrorism. The rhetoric we are seeing from leaders of my party, the Republican Party, is directly fueling violence and spike in domestic terrorism. This is not a partisan observation. This is a public safety warning. Quote, wrote Mr. Taylor, who previously rocketed to notoriety after revealing himself to be the author of an anonymous op-ed declaring himself as part of a resistance inside Mr. Trump's administration. Okay? This is really important to understand because all these people in the manosphere in 2024 who got behind this guy, you had people within his own administration that were saying, hey, the stuff that this guy is doing, that the president is doing, is leading to a lot of political violence. Okay.
And they want to blame the left for it. And they want to look to find some way to blame the left for it. Mm-hmm. That's, and that's a misdirection play. So they can, continue, as I was saying earlier, to push forward their agenda. But Mike, you're dead on the money there. That's where these guys are. And when you tell them the truth, they don't want to. And when you break this truth out on these people, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And the same black male programs, such as the Black Student Initiative out in California, that's currently being sued now, was funded partially, if not all the way, by Turning Point USA. Some of your DEI programs on college campuses, that were being sued, were also being partially, if not fully, funded by Turning Point USA at some point. And so when I hear people say, transgender this and all this other LGBT, I don't know where you're getting it from. I don't know what that has to do with the conversation. But what we do know is that by and large, that the Republican Party, by members within the party, have said, as I read earlier, that the president, it starts from the top down, that the president had been fueling a lot of this rhetoric that has led to political violence, as we saw with Charlie Kirk being assassinated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They want to blame. They want to blame the left. But it's the right doing all of the political violence, all of the shootings.
Well, this is Nancy Mace. Let's check her comments on it.
Stated, my kids have called panicking. They probably all the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot and killed. In this country, we have the First Amendment. We have freedom to speak what's on our mind and shouldn't get shot. Because we believe in our system of democracy, conservative, liberal, whatever you are, you shouldn't be shot for your beliefs. Nobody believes in that. And I hope that every single Democrat across the country will stand up and acknowledge that they have a problem within their party.
What? Dude, this dude wasn't even in the ground yet. And she said this crazy ass shit that cannot be defended. She was wrong.
The other thing too is a lot of people act like political violence is new to America. It actually isn't. Like
no,
it's not new.
No. Like it's been sort of, you could say, not as bad, but I mean, you got to think, you had Gabby Giffords, you had the two legislators that were shot in Minnesota, you had the baseball game where no one died in that one. I think just someone was shot at the congressional baseball games. I think that's about 10 years ago too.
Yeah.
You know, so you had that. You got Reagan, obviously, who was shot at. You have JFK, RFK, MLK in the 60s, Medgar Evers. So you've had a lot of politically, I mean, the whole response to the civil rights movement was politically motivated violence in these small towns. You know, we talked about like the Tulsa massacre, things like that. So as much as people tried to like say, oh, like political violence is, you know, something we don't believe, people freedom of opinion, like that really hasn't been the case in this country. And you can honestly see that even post this, you're seeing now people are trying to get professors and employers fired for what they posted on social media, which I'm like, oh, so people just want freedom of speech, like when it's convenient for them, and then they want to be able to cancel everyone when they don't agree with them. Because that's where this is going now too. You got professors who they're trying to get rid of, as well as, you know, just nurses, teachers, whoever, who, whether, you know, someone said they were celebrating or they did not, they felt that they did not honor him in the right way. They're trying to go after their livelihood now.
Well, don't forget, it was the president that got rid of Acosta from CNN.
Yeah.
Joe Acosta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, it was also, you know, the administration that started suing these universities for allegedly anti-Semitism that they can't seem to point out, right? And so they're censoring everybody else while trying to defend the constitutional rights for themselves.
Matthew Dowd got fired for talking about the actual true history of this guy, while simultaneously Fox News run an entire business model of hating the left. No one got fired. The only person got fired is people on the left telling the truth about it.
Yeah.
Crazy talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you have. I mean,
don't forget about Jesse Waters. He was calling for war the day of. He literally said we need to get ready for war on Fox News.
Yeah, yeah. He's actually calling for it. I saw one other guy on Fox News, I think it was his name, saying even just about homeless people. Yeah, we need to get rid of them. Let's euthanize them and, you know, kill them and take them out. I mean, some of the stuff I'm hearing from these folks, it's unreal. I've never heard anything like this before. It's just never have. It's unbelievable.
Hey, remember this. The conservatives are the ones who's against free speech. Remember when the Dixie Chicks was over in England and they said something about President Bush? They plane haven't even landed yet. Their music was banned all over the airwaves, and it was completely. They took their music off the shelves for a simple comment made at a concert. That's how they responded in the Bush administration.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And their little name was the Dixie Chicks. Didn't have free speech to talk about a Republican president.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say too, Elon Musk, he was another one that has been tweeting, basically saying that the left is murderers. You know, he was involved in. They had a big rally in London the other day, I think, to protest immigration, and he was saying, "Well, if you're nonviolent, it's not going to matter because your enemy is going to be violent against you. You got to rise up." So, you know, this guy, and as well as his website, has been stoking a lot of this, leading to a lot of people getting radicalized. And, you know, that's sort of been swept under the rug as well.
Of course. They have to radicalize these people to keep these people to not focus on the fact that capitalism don't need you anymore. It may have needed your father and your grandfather, but it don't need you. Bye-bye, Chaos Rain. You have a nice day. Don't ever bring your motherfucking ass back around here with no fucking other channel. You're not welcome here. Go ahead. Fucking snake.
Damn.
All right, so let's go through. Oh, we have like two more things. Mike posted something. Let's see if we
Yeah, there are a couple more clips I posted
Okay,
before.
all right. We already played that one. Let's go to another one. I'm gonna go to the first one you pick, and then I'm gonna go to the one that Mike had posted. Wait a minute, did you post the same clip twice?
No, I posted that earlier, but I just read it because it was
No.
contact to the conversation.
No. This is the first clip that actually Renaissance picked. Let me make sure that I'm not playing the same thing twice.
Yeah, there are two different.
Okay, well, I'm gonna play the first one because I think I played the second one and I was de-escalating. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we didn't hear nothing about abortion before, so let's play this one. Okay, here we go.
To the Holocaust.
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. Black crime is a major issue in our country. Why are you pushing criminal justice reform exactly? Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Now, the southern border is, of course, the great replacement. They're trying to replace us demographically. They're trying to make the country less white. It is an anti-white agenda. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Taylor Swift is now engaged to Travis Kelce. This is something that I hope will make Taylor Swift more conservative. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
America was at its peak when we halted immigration for 40 years and we dropped our foreign-born percentage to its lowest level ever.
Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters. In Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Can we get that picture up, Ryan, of that Marvel's Avenger team? Now, I don't know who the person is on the left. Is the person on the left that came and did the interview with Joe? The TikTok, your government is being run by freaks. It's like immediately I have like a flashback to a country where weren't able to do Bud Light commercials. What does being trans even mean? Is that even a real thing? It means you need therapy. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. I do think that there is a direct correlation between someone's testosterone and their politics. On young men, the lower their testosterone, the more likely they are to be Democratic.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped and she was going to give birth and she would, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that?
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed.
I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends, the administration.
This is the guy who's the flag flying for half-staff for. This guy.
This is the Christian. These are the people that in churches are talking about was a good Christian, spreading the message.
A nice Christian man.
He was a good guy. This was a good guy.
Yeah, about as Christian as Joel Osteen.
Passing out that collection plate while he was giving people a place to stay. Like, nah, man, like, this ain't a free pro bono thing, man. Like, y'all got to put something in on this, or y'all got to get up out of here.
I mean, I got to understand how the Black manosphere gets behind this.
If you're deeply ensconced in shine bonery, and without a doubt feel like you are somewhat inferior, the mindset, yeah, you'll get behind this.
Keep in mind that this guy dropped out of college after the first year.
Community college.
Yeah.
Community college.
Yeah. Questioning the legitimacy of a Barack Obama or any other black male pilot that's flying a commercial airline, or the qualifications of a Governor Westmore and a Mayor Byron Scott. Sorry.
Yep. He could tell just by looking at, I just hope he's qualified. Like, yeah, they just let people just fly planes with no certification and no type of training and no type of nothing. Like, now if he went to one of these manosphere meetups and got his pilot's license from there, then I'd be concerned with him. But that ain't how this works.
Yeah, pilots, AWS cloud. That seems about appropriate.
Yeah, free classes, but you have to fly to a liberal city in order to get access to the free class that you refuse to actually acknowledge exists. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, Alpha. So he didn't die over his free speech. This is less about free speech. The fuck you talking about, man? Like, bro, go to bed, man. No, actually, you can't go to bed. It's fucking 8 o'clock in California. Yeah, man. Just come on, Alpha.
No, Mike, you were saying how the guys get behind this. I mean, really, it's these guys. It's the LGBT thing. That's really what pulls a lot of these guys in here. Is for whatever reason they're obsessed with this. Even though they claim they're not involved, or they're straight men. For whatever reason, they get so obsessed about this, and they'll do the same thing that these white dudes will do when it comes really to black people. They'll empty their entire wallet. They'll ignore the economy, black unemployment, all of this stuff to, oh my gosh, somebody's gay.
Here's the thing, man. I can see if LGBT was out like Batman, just snatching motherfuckers up and putting them on rooftops and shit. They only interested in the people who's interested in them. What's up with this issue? Like, they exist and you exist. What's the problem? Oh, Mike just rolled out. So, yeah, he has to go to bed. So.
Yeah. That's a problem, but somehow they can find themselves in some liberal city all the time.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, where do you go in this country to where you don't face any of this stuff? Because this stuff is definitely in small town America. It definitely is, but you don't want to live in small town America. Where it's definitely at. Everybody wants access to these liberal cities, but they don't want to deal with the liberal issues in these liberal cities. Yeah, well, this ain't a free speech issue. Like, tolerating what that dude was saying, that's not a free speech issue.
Yeah, I don't see
he may treat it like a free speech issue, but the stuff that was coming out of his mouth had nothing to do with free speech. Yeah, I didn't feel protected by his so-called free speech, and neither are you.
Yeah, I just don't see why this dude didn't move to these men who want to live in these conservative areas or claim these conservative principles. Why weren't they living in Utah? Trump country, you're black MAGA, conservative.
Orem, Utah.
Yeah.
It's not even Salt Lake City, which there ain't that many black people there either. I go there a lot. Not a lot of black people I've ever seen there. I'm talking about gas stations, Walmart, small department stores. I don't even see.
But MOT, I mean, why would that matter? They don't, based on the rhetoric that they embrace with, these guys like Charlie Kirk, they don't even seem like they really want to be around Black America either. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the ideal place.
Well, Alpha, the first one, here's the thing. I'm not going to tolerate the Charlie Kirk shit and then celebrate his ability for me not to even have right to life as some check on my fucking ability for people to have free speech. No.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking with that. No. Oh, well, he has the right to say, like, dude, listen, he's doing nothing but gaslighting and trolling people on the fact that he don't think of you as an equal American citizen like everybody else. Okay? This ain't about free speech. It's about the ability for you to deliver on those people who you are lying to. And if you cannot deliver to those people and they face real consequences, those people believe this nonsense their entire life. Okay? His father, the guy's father, he could see how he benefited from capitalism, how he benefited from conservatism in that state. Grandfather, grandmother, they all own homes. If this guy's living with his parents, he don't have the same access and rights to capitalism that his father and grandfather lived under. That's what the issue is.
And
this rhetoric, or can this rhetoric produce something for his generation? And the answer is no.
That's exactly right. And he doesn't even feel like a real. He doesn't feel like a man. He doesn't feel like that. He
has to live with his parents. Do you know how humiliating that is in your 20s?
You can't move out. You don't have the money to move out. You don't have the money to move out. You don't have the money to make it. So it's very easy to radicalize this person. And if they feel like you're lying to them after a period of time and they get very upset, things are going to things are going to get real hot.
That's why it's such a flashpoint, because violence is never supposed to happen to conservatives. It only is like thoughts and prayers. And Charlie Kirk is the same guy who literally said, if he has to die for the Second Amendment to stay the same, he's okay with it. He said that out of his own mouth. He said that.
He said it. Yeah.
Now, I'm for one, we're taking reasonable precautions. If you're that public of a figure and you do all this stuff, dude, you better have some security. Or you better have a presence there. Let's say otherwise. So let's see what this guy has to say here. What's going on, Eric Bird? Yo, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Am I echoing as I talk? Because I don't want to cause no echo. I'm talking on my phone. So
no. I hear you just fine. No, I hear you just fine.
If I start echoing, let me know. Go ahead and talk. I want you to say some things. See if you hear echo. Talk. Just say something. I want to see if you hear echo on the panel.
Oh, okay. So if you can hear echo on your end with me talking. Oh, okay. All right. Let's see what's going on here. All right. So what I'm simply saying is that Charlie Kirk has to simply deliver to the people who he's lying to all the time. All this buck dancing and trolling and saying all this kind of crazy stuff, it doesn't make any sense. But the whole media does this with white America. You could turn up and down the AM radio dial, no matter where you are. Even liberal cities, you could turn up and down the AM radio dial. You could see one actual clone of Rush Limbaugh and this stuff after another. It is a big money-making thing. A huge money-making thing. And they're all doing the same thing Charlie Kirk is doing. They're all doing it. The money that they're not paying these people for the jobs that went overseas is being spent on having these people caught up in these culture wars. That's what's happening here.
Did you hear any echo or anything like that?
No. It's your turn to talk.
Okay, excellent. No, I was trying to find out because I did a live with someone about 2 weeks ago, and I was getting real bad echo through my phone.
Whoa. We're talking about right now. We're talking about right now the statement I just made.
Excellent. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me up. As you know, me and you had a conversation about 3 months ago, and it was very respectful. So I included to be respectful tonight. All right. I'm not coming up here to troll or to undo
that's
anything.
cool, man, but just get to the actual point on what you're discussing. Right. We can have a discussion.
All right. Here's the point. Here's the point that I make, and I'm not sure, but let me ask this question: is any man on this panel? Let me ask this question: is any man on this panel has not served in the U.S. military?
Dude, none of that shit matters with what we're talking about.
That's
here.
my question. You served in the military.
Wait, hold on. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the issue about what the live stream is about. The live stream is about Charlie Kirk. What he was doing was not free speech. I didn't feel protected by his free speech.
Okay.
His free speech meant that he didn't believe that I had the same rights that he had. So that's what you're up here to discuss.
I agree with you on that. I do agree with you that Charlie Wright was a vile, racist piece of shit. I'm saying it up front. My argument is simply this. Nobody, Charlie Kirk, you, or anyone, should ever be assassinated in a public square for exercising their free speech. That's my argument.
Who said that? Who said that?
I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying that's what happened, though. That's exactly what happened. This man was gunned down while he was exercising his right to free speech. I think that's wrong.
Around his own people.
Yes.
Yes.
He did. Yes, he was.
No. He should have been shot. I'm sorry. He should have not have been shot. But he was in an area that was lily white to prevent these type of things from happening. So we agree on that issue. Is there anything we disagree on?
I don't think we do. I just simply stated that he had the right to free speech, whether I agree with it or not. And he should not have been assassinated for him exercising his right to free speech. I think that's what I was saying. I don't know
that was never
part of our conversation point.
That was never the issue. That was never the issue. Not from the beginning, not till up to now. That was not.
If I implied that, then I apologize. I never meant to imply that on you guys. I never meant to imply that. My argument is simply one. I've been kind of hearing people, and I heard this whatever her name is, Megan Kelly. She tried to insinuate that he was gunned down for his anti-black rhetoric, and I took offense to that. I'm saying no. This man was not gunned down because of his anti-black rhetoric. Black people as a whole.
She blamed Barack Obama for that.
Yes, I seen that. Yes,
he was dead.
Yes.
Listen, you.
That was
if
awful.
You have an actual point of view that's anti what we're talking about. Let's discuss that. We all agree that this dude shouldn't be dead. Okay, we all agree.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have any disagreements there. I wrote. Sometimes when you write something, it doesn't come off as what you exactly want to say. So that was my point. Is that I don't think we should be even. I don't think we should be letting anyone on any side say that it was black people's fault, because it was not. And number two, the man did die exercising his freedom of speech. Right. I didn't agree with any of the shit he was talking about, because a lot of
the guns that we tried to take off the streets were the guns that he was okay with being on the streets.
Yeah, I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with most of the stuff Charlie Kirk said, man, up front. I didn't agree with it. I'm just gonna tell you up front. I did not agree with his stuff. It was easily debunked.
We are in agreement. Do you have anything else before I close up the show?
Oh, well, let me clear up the other thing I wrote in the chat, because you were saying that what does this transgender stuff have to do with it? Well,
dude, I don't give a shit about the transgender issue. It's not a real political issue. It's an issue for morons and fucking idiots who don't fucking understand that people have a right to their sexual it's a non-issue.
In this particular incident, it is a factor, but it's not the motive. So you are correct on that. I was incorrect on that. We don't know the motive, but it is becoming a factor because the suspected shooter was in an intimate relationship with a trans woman who was transitioning to become a woman. So that is definitely a major factor. And the last question Charlie Kirk was answered before he was gunned down was on the transgender shooting incident. So that is definitely something that people are talking about.
No, he wasn't. The last issue he was talking about was he was talking about gang violence.
Yeah, gang violence. That's true. That is true.
The absolute last thing was him running that culture war on whites about gang violence.
Yes, that's true.
And hey, guy, you were up there here the last time talking about. Well, the big issue is going to be about it's going to be about gender, isn't it? It's going to be about gender, isn't it? And we're seeing something a lot different today, aren't we?
All right. So and here's the thing: if that guy had completed his mission in Bethel, PA, Trump was trying to run some culture war about Latinos and almost got head almost taken off while trying to do that. So what
I think the last time we talked, we agreed that the Republican. I think me, you, and I can't remember his name. I think Mr. T, the Inquisitor T. I can't remember his name, but I think we all agreed last time we talked that yes, the Republican Party ran the culture war, and I think we all said yes, they did it and it worked. So I don't know what's the
no. You ran something different, but we don't need to get into that.
no
we're good, man. So no.
Yeah.
You
So Nicole,
We
you
agree
came
on
on the last end of that conversation. We did agree that the Republican Party did run the culture war. I said yes, they did it, and the transgender thing was a part of the culture war, and it worked. So I'm not sure you didn't hear that part. I'm not sure.
No. I was there from the beginning. But anyway,
So I don't know how
go
you
ahead,
hear
go ahead,
it
MOT.
differently, but MOT can confirm that I did agree with him on that point. I never disagreed with that point.
No. Well, we agree. So you got any last comments, Renaissance man, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, I'm about to go work out, man. But good broadcast. I got to go hit the gym. Y'all take it easy, man. Be easy.
All right, cool. All right, have a nice one. Renaissance still there?
RM.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So you got any final words on this before we get up out of here, man?
Nah, like I said, I think like I said, a lot has been talked about. I think we've covered it pretty well. You know, like we said, we're not sitting here saying that, you know, he should have been. I do think that, hey, whenever you embrace that kind of extremist rhetoric, you put yourself at risk for this type of thing to happen. It's not a matter of what should, but what can. And I think that was part of this rhetoric. And I think, unfortunately, you could see more of this because it doesn't look like you have people trying to really calm this down. You seem like you definitely had 2 days of the right trying to hype this up even more. So I encourage everyone to be smart and stay safe out there.
Yeah, and I have no interest in new allies. None. If you haven't figured it out by now, you got to go figure it out by yourself. Not trying to have these new allies come on and agree with, man. Nah, man. You know what you were talking about. Nah. None. So go. Any last words before we get up out of here?
No, I think things are moving fast. It's going to be dangerous. We're going to see a lot more stuff going on, unfortunately. And these guys are not going to try to ratchet back the monster that they've created to a large extent. It's going to get a little worse, guys. So strap in and just keep your eyes open and think critically. Think critically out here. Think critically. That's it. Thanks, MOT.
All right, no problem. But this is what happens when you have nothing but the culture war to sell and you can't deliver on anything. And these people have mortgaged their credibility and their entire lives believing in you was going to deliver something that you can't deliver. It didn't even take 3 months for this actual administration to destroy most jobs in the federal government. Didn't take 3 months to do that. For anti-government zealots to get in charge of the government. Okay? Didn't take that long. This is the first time in history where they found consequences right away for their actions. They could try to walk it back all they want to, but they have been creating this actual part since after the Civil War ended. They have been doing this to white America for a very long time. And yes, a lot of those people who call themselves, oh, well, Bernie's not my candidate, so I'm not going to vote. Yeah, and he became president the first time. And then these same individuals turned around and not voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary the second time. That's how we got Joe Biden. Then Joe Biden does an excellent job fixing Trump's mess. And you know how he was rewarded? He was rewarded with another Donald Trump presidency. I don't really want to hear anything about nobody complaining about how these things work or how they go. Me personally, I don't give a damn if your area works or not. Participating in the process is all that's needed. I'm not bringing people up to speed. You should already know that these things are wrong, these things are bad, and how these things are going. For these people who are losing representation in these large liberal cities are going to feel the pain of that. That 30-year Supreme Court that we got because people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, that's going to be there long after Trump's dead and long after probably I'm dead too. Okay? It is about the judiciary. The same rubber stamp judiciary who says that you could just kick people out the country. You could just deport people to wherever you want to. All that stuff's bad. You think they're just going to stop doing that at actual Latinos? No, they're just going to start exercising it however they want to exercise it. Okay? You have to provide the protection to people that you actually expect. The Conservative Party and movement was not about providing equal protection under the law. They was about providing tiered justice under the law. With that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. You guys have a really nice rest of y'all night. Remember, BGS is not covering politics. He's covering gender war. Because that's what's important to him. Keeping you invested in the gender war. It's the only way he can have a voice. Thank y'all guys so much for listening. Y'all have a nice night.